Welcome to Hangar 37. My name is John, and tonight we're going to do the assembly of the FMS PT-17 Stearman. And before we get started, I just want to go over a couple things here. First thing you're going to want to do is go and get your touch-up paint. In this case, obviously, you got two colors. You got the yellow and the blue. I go to Ace. These are about $3 a can, and they match them up pretty good. I also did some custom work on the engine cowling. Beautiful model like this with a cheap plastic front motor. I think it just adds a little bit to it than that plain Jane front end that it came with. One of the other things I did on the pilots is I gave them sunglasses and scarves. I think they look pretty cool in that cheap paint job they do on the eyes. One of the other things that I did was I reinforced this foam hinge on the back. It's still a little bit spongy. I have foam hinge tape in there and painted it. Looks pretty good, and it really added a lot more support to it too. Okay, I'm going to reposition the camera, get a better angle on the assembly of this. So I'll take a break here and I'll be back to you in a minute. Okay, I'm back. I'm going to put the control horns on the bottom wing. They all come in a bag. What I always do is I save these little containers and I dump my parts into here. It's much easier. They don't roll around onto the floor or anything. And you also want to make sure you put it in the right direction, which I've done. I've put them on backwards already. They're recessed molded so that they accept the back plate and the horn. And usually don't have too much problem getting alignment on it. Ah, perfect. It's easier doing it this way, and most of the time it stays in line. Okay, we've got our control horns on the elevator, and I'm going to put those aside because actually I'll put those on last because these have to be glued on, and they just get in the way when you're moving the plane around doing all the rest of the work. So I'll just set those aside here. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to put the bottom wing on next. I would suggest anybody gets this plane is to use one of the screws to pre-thread them, because two of them absolutely were not going to go in, and hopefully they'll all go in easier. So we're going to slide our wires through. And then just set that in there. Okay, that looks good. All right. There we go, got the bottom wing on. I'm going to take a short break and we'll be back in just a bit. Okay, I'm back, and I'm going to mark the center of gravity on the bottom of the top wing. I have a lot of sewing pins with different colors. So I'll take two of my blue ones out. Now generally what I do is I cut them about a 1/4 inch, 6 millimeters maybe. The CG setback on this one is 80 millimeters from the leading edge of the straight part. So I am going to mark 80 millimeters. So, got my two marks here. What I do is I take a simple pen and I'm going to mark this with just a little impression, make a little indentation. Okay, I then put a little dab of super glue on those indentations, and you take your needle nose that's pretty much it. So when you want to feel your underside for your center distance, you got a nice spot to hang your finger on. Okay, we'll let that dry and I'll get back to you in just a bit. Okay, I'm back. As you can see, I've already put my cabanes on, and I did run into the problem with them being real tight again. I put one screw about halfway in and I backed it out. I was afraid I was going to strip it or break it. One of the solutions I came up with is you take a little cap and put some liquid dishwashing detergent in there. I use Dawn, so I put at the bottom of the cap some Dawn, and I tip out the screws, and that helped a lot, lubricated it, and they went in right away. Just basically roll the tip and get some detergent on there. Another little tip is run the screw in and spin it out, meaning that the threads are all through. If you don't do this, because it goes in pretty tight, you're not sure when you're bottoming out the screw. All of the struts and cabanes are on. And I think before I put the top wing on, I'm going to try and get the landing gear on. See, you're supposed to glue them, but to be honest with you, I can't see that happening. I wonder if I loosen those up. I'm going to take a little break here and play with this and see if I can figure out a better way to do this. I'll be back to you in a bit. Okay, I'm back. I kind of figured out what was the problem. They had these glued up tight to the silver plastic piece down here, and they would not come down to the model, to the fuselage. There was a big gap there. So I loosened them up and broke that little dab of glue they had on there, because it's real important that you get these struts, wheel struts, to stick to the model here. I mean, it's all grooved out. Now I did rough up, I hope you can see that, yeah. I roughed up where the epoxy is going to go, and I also roughed up, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but I scuffed it up. I'm going to mix up some 5-minute epoxy and glue that in there instead of using the rubber cement that they sent along. I don't see that holding. We'll mix up some cement and get it on there. Okay, I'm back. attach the cabane to the fuselage. The screw size on these, by the way, is a 2.3 by 6. Okay, that side's done. Let's see what we can do with this here. We got it on there. Nothing broke, nothing snapped. Don't over tighten them. Looks pretty level. Looking good. Okay. Well, that's it on the top wing. Got the landing gear on. So I'm going to take a little break here. I'm back, and we're going to do the elevator. I'm going to epoxy the two together, and I'm going to, instead of sanding, I'm going to use tape to remove the paints on what I'm going to take off. I don't know if you can see this or not, but instead of sanding it, I hope you can see this. Alright, you notice it took the paint off. It's a good way to take the paint off. So, I did the other piece already. We're going to mix some 5-minute epoxy here. I think we're okay. Get that in there. Once again, make sure we're going to put it in right. Okay, we're going to take a little break and let that dry. I'll be back to you in a bit. Okay, I'm back. And the elevator is all set, nice and straight. I'll hook that up and do the final alignments after I'm done with everything. Okay, I'm back. I've got the windows in and the pilots in, and hopefully you can see they look pretty good. You can see the pilot looking at you in the back there. Pretty close to finished. I'm gonna have to do the rigging and the lighting, and I won't bore you with all that. It gets to be a little tedious. I'm gonna take another little break here, and I'll be back after I'm done with the rigging and the lighting. Okay, I'm back. Got the lights in. You see here you got the nav lights on the ends of the wings, and the wire goes in up the wing strut, goes through the lower wing, comes out. Now you gotta kind of be careful with this, because you'll peel the paint up otherwise. The color's a fairly decent match. Before I break away, when I set these wires in, I dabbed it every now and then with super glue to keep it in the track. Also in the wing strut, I put some super glue so it's not going to come out. Okay, I'm going to break away and finish this job up, and I'll come back to you when I put the wing support wires on. We'll see you in a little bit. U.S. Army. The tape matched up pretty good. Okay, now that we got the decals on, we'll take a little break and we'll see you soon. Well, I'm back and I'm just finishing up the touch-up of the paint. This is the last piece. Okay, I think I'm all done. I'll put the prop on, give you a final walk around on it, and I did the rigging. And if you'll notice, I didn't use any springs. Okay, what I did is I drilled through where the springs would go on, these little openings. I took my little finger drill, which I got from Amazon for about $7. Comes with a couple different bits. This is a 1.2 millimeter drill, and then I just drilled through all the openings where there were supposed to be springs, and I meticulously threaded all these through and tied them, knotted them and tied them. So I think it looks pretty cool, no springs on there. And if you can see this, I've got the extra one going to the back too. I think it looks pretty cool, no springs. I'm going to put the prop on. Also painted the prop. And as far as the ends, I didn't paint those. There was some excess decal material left, which matches up pretty good. And I just taped it. Was very careful to make sure I had the right length on it. Balances out real nice. Okay. Okay, got throttle cut off. Got about 6 to 8 hours of total work on this thing. Okay, obviously the lights, and they're pretty bright.
Time remaining 5.
Just going to give you a quick walk around on this. Also, where the wire comes down, I painted that with that paint I matched up. Looks pretty good. You can't hardly see that wire. Rigging looks real good. Landing gear was a pain in the butt. The cabanes and wing struts were a pain in the butt. I had to end up pre-threading when I mounted the wing, the 4 screws. I had to pre-thread those. The first one I tried to put on, I stripped it out, and on the wing it was so tight, end up cracking it, so I had to put epoxy on it. What I ended up doing is I used Dawn liquid dishwashing detergent, and I tipped out the tips of the screws, and it made a lot of difference. They went in, they were still tight, but when I backed off that screw that cracked, there was all plastic in the threads. Same with the wing. The screw I backed out, I had to use a vice grips to get it out because it was all stripped out. They give you extra screws, thankfully. I would recommend that you pre-thread those with the vice grips first, because you're going to have a real problem getting those tight without stripping them out. Okay, I painted the air scoop and I customized the engine. That took quite a bit. I had a couple hours of work on that. probably about 3 hours with several coats of paint. I pre-painted the whole thing with this silver metal flake, and then I had to go over it and dry brush it with black and then do the blue. I think it looks pretty sharp. Also, pilots with goggles. Let's see if we can get in here. Captain John, one crazy old flyer. Okay, painted the antenna. On the assembly, on a 5-star rating, I'd give it a 3. You really got to work those screws carefully, otherwise you're going to end up stripping or breaking the plastic. Be real careful on it. Worth the effort though. I think she's a beauty. Look forward to doing a maiden on her. So once again, this is John from Hangar 37 signing off. I want to thank you for watching, and I wish all you pilots out there blue skies and calm winds.
Take these broken wings.